like to begin today with an inspirational scripture. It says, "A passion for serving," so appropriate for us this morning. "For we are God's handiwork, created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which God prepared in advance for us to do." Ephesians 2nd chapter, 10th verse. Let us pray. Dear Lord, we thank you for this day. We thank you for safe travels here. We thank you for helping us to get through the storm, both physically and mentally. We ask that you be with us and help us and guide us with wisdom, understanding, so that we would make decisions that are in the best interest of the children that we are called to serve with a passion. We thank you so much for this day, and we ask that you help us to make this meeting meaningful, purposeful, and productive. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much. And now Stephen Gilchrist will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Board Member Kip Miller will read for us our position and mission statement. Thank you, Kip.
Good morning. Our mission statement says the South Carolina Public Charter School District authorizes, supports, and champions innovative K-12 public charter schools, ensuring quality educational opportunities for parents and academic excellence for students, so every South Carolina child can reach their highest potential. And our position statement as a charter school district board is we embrace its state-appointed role as the district authorizer, distinct authorizer of public charter schools statewide.
Thank you. Now, our Secretary of the Board, Dexter Davis, will call the roll.
Jonathan Butcher. Here. Dexter W.J. Davis. Here. Stephen Gilchrist. I'm present. Kip Miller.
Here.
Madam Chair.
Here.
Randy Page. Here. Dr. Pope.
Here.
Dr. Strickland.
Here.
Thank you. Now we move on to the consent agenda. Approval of the agenda for the October 10th, 2024 meeting. We need a motion and a second to approve the agenda for this meeting today, October 10th, 2024.
Madam Chair, I'd like to move that we approve the agenda for today's meeting and the minutes for the September 19th, 2024 meeting.
That will be just fine. I appreciate that. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second. Any discussion? Any questions, discussion? Having heard none, we will now move for the vote. We have a motion, a second, and no lack of discussion. All discussion was done pertinent to this that was needed. And now we call for the question. All in favor of approval of the agenda for today and for the minutes from the September 19th board meeting, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No. Thank you. We will now move into public comments. Now, Dr. Strickland thinks that's his time to talk, but it's not. But if he wants to. I had to work with Teresa and I together today. We're kind of networking. Yeah. We have a section for public comments. Are there any that are signed up for? Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. Next, we will move into the issue of executive session, which I believe we do not have an executive session needed today. Is that correct, Mr. Superintendent? Are there any informational items? I haven't seen, I wasn't aware of any informational items. No, okay, I didn't hear that. I was waiting for the note. Thank you. Now we'll proceed on to action items. A, under action items, the State Board of Education model policy on prohibited personal electronic devices during the school day. This will be the second reading, and Chris Neely, do you address this issue?
Yeah, Madam Chair, members of the Board of Trustees, the staff recommends that the board have a second reading on the education model policy on prohibited personal electronic devices during the school day.
Okay. So we need a motion and a second to approve the second reading of the State Board of Education model policy on prohibited personal electronic devices during the school day.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Second. Is there any discussion on this issue? I think that discussion will come at a later time, I think, as this is more considered. We were just introduced to the concept, I think, last month at our meeting. So, so that we have a motion and a second to approve the second reading. Is there any further discussion? Points? No. Then we will put this before the board for a vote. All in favor to approve the second reading of the State Board of Education model policy on prohibited personal electronic devices during the school day, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? No. The ayes have it. Thank you. Now we move into action item B, which is pertinent to the Meeting Street, Jasper, and Beaufort name change for that school. And I think Kristen Farmer is going to lead us in this, Chief of Authorization and Development.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board, Superintendent Neely. Please draw your attention to action item B and the Meeting Street, Jasper, and Beaufort Amendment Memo. Meeting Street, Jasper, and Beaufort, located in Ridgeland, Jasper County, opened in the 23-24 school year and currently serves students in grades kindergarten through second. Established in 2022 through a partnership with Treehouse Family Foundation and Meeting Street Schools, the school will continue to operate under Meeting Street's management until the end of the 2024-25 academic year, after which the school will operate as a single-site campus outsourcing select services. The SC Community Schools Board requests a doing business as name change to Heartwood Community School. The name Heartwood symbolizes the strong, resilient core of a tree, embodying the school's mission to serve as a nurturing foundation for the community. This name change reflects a broader vision for the future, positioning Heartwood Community School as a central pillar in the community, committed to fostering a supportive and connected environment for both students and families. The new name will help clarify the school's evolving mission and enhance the community engagement and brand visibility. Staff recommends the PCSD Board of Trustees approve the name change from Meeting Street, Jasper, and Beaufort to Heartwood Community School, aligning with the school's growth and future direction. Joining us today from Meeting Street, Jasper, and Beaufort are Principal Jennifer Brown, Board Chair Bill Kennedy, and Ji-Yu Lin, Senior Advisor at Treehouse Foundation, the school's philanthropic partner, to answer any questions. At this time, I respectfully request a motion to approve the name change. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. With that request, we need a motion and a second to approve the Meeting Street, Jasper, and Beaufort School request for a name change amendment to the Heartwood Community School. And then we will get into discussion and questions.
Motion to accept staff recommendation.
I'm sorry?
Motion to accept staff
Yes.
recommendation.
Thank you.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No. Thank you.
Do you have any questions?
Yes, I would think at this time, and we might not all know all the questions, so let us also say questions, but any points of interest that you would like to make to us, we'd be very glad to hear.
Yeah. Thank you for taking time to hear us out. Meeting Street and our school partnered in 2022. Earlier this year in 2024, Meeting Street, well, it's actually February of 2024, Meeting Street informed us that their resources had been spread thin by the addition of our school, and they would prefer to no longer run it for us, be our operator. And so this request is sort of a matter of necessity, the first step of us becoming an independent, standalone charter school.
Any questions about the dynamics of this, or?
I'd like to have.
Yes,
a statement.
Dexter.
I would just like to say that words mean a lot, and though The reason being that you made the name change. We stick to the Heartwood and what it means, the definition of it, and what it means for that community. I've lived in that community before, so I would certainly want to cheer you on as being mindful of what Heartwood means. So stick to that and let the scholars get impacted.
Yes, sir, thank you.
They'll be growing redwoods over there, raising up redwood students. Any other questions? I have a question. How are the parents, like, how is this coming along with parents? What is their input? What is your sense of how they are about this?
Wonderful question. So we have been informing our parents since the end of last school year, and we've continued to inform all of our new parents as they're coming on board with us. And they are accepting it very well. They are really excited about what we are doing in our building. And to them, the name that we currently were before to the name that we are going to hopefully be accepted today, they're excited. They are on board with whatever direction because of the impact that we are providing their students every day.
Does it have a certain sense of a little more immediately local control?
Yes,
local
correct.
Oversight and that
Yes,
sort of
correct.
thing?
It allows us to have that local control that we're really excited to be able to provide our families.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good. Thank you. Any other questions? Okay. Now, we are ready to consider our motion again. Ready? Correct? Did you want to say anything about this?
I love the name. Knowing the location and where they are, I think it really speaks to their focus on putting all kids first. And so that's why the staff recommends the board support the change.
Yeah. And there have about 80 students?
Yes, ma'am. We have 86, and we have another student starting after fall break next week. So we'll be at 87 students.
Great.
Yes,
That's
ma'am.
great. Well, thank you. The board, having heard all of this, we now restate the motion to approve the Meeting Street, Jasper, and Beaufort Amendment request to rename that school Heartwood Community School, as recommended and requested by the staff. We will now put that motion to a vote. Oh, they did vote. Okay. Thank you. That's what was written down here. Okay, thank you very much. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we will move to the August 2024 Financial Audit Report from Nick Michael, who knows everything.
Good morning, Madam Chair and board members.
Good morning.
At the end of August, we expect 83.33% of general fund approved budget to remain. We are currently at 81.88%. My report will show the district is operating at a net loss for the month because many expenditures have moved from COVID funding that expired, and there are several expenditures that we paid in advance for the year. In the September report, you will see an increase in revenue due to our fifth day membership increasing from initial funding, which is more than what was in the conservative budget presented for approval back in June. On page 2, this is the district-wide income statement, which includes general fund, state aid to classrooms revenue transferred to our schools. State aid to classrooms is the majority of state revenue our schools receive. Through August 30th, the district received over $31.2 million in revenue, with total expenditures of over $31.3 million, which equals a net loss of $81,738. Of the revenue received, over $30.4 million was sent to our schools under the state aid to classrooms line, and for any that participate in the South Carolina retirement system. Our focus continues to be advocating for additional state funding since our schools don't receive local tax support. Flipping over to page 3, this report is the income statement for the district office only, which includes only general fund revenue recorded for our 2% authorizing fee, donations, interest income, and any other local sources. For the month of August, the district reported over $413,000 in revenue, over $475,000 in expenditures, for a net loss of $62,039 for the month. This equates to a net loss for the year of $81,738. This decreases our estimated fund balance from $2,254,707 to $2,172,969, mainly due to the expiration of COVID funding, resulting in expenditures transferring back to the general fund. As stated earlier, we also have several expenditures we pay in advance for the entire fiscal year. Some of these include our accounting system and Epicenter as a platform for collecting documentation from our schools. The 5-day funding update in September will show an increase in revenue and a net gain for the month. Flipping over to page 4, this report breaks out the district budget and expenditures by department. Leadership has a budget of over $1.57 million, expenditures of over $234,000, with 85% remaining. Sponsor Performance has a budget of over $858,000, expenditures of over $159,000, with 81% remaining. Support and Implementation has a budget of over $1 million, expenditures of over $248,000, with 76% remaining. External Affairs has a budget of over $621,000, expenditures of over $94,000, with 85% remaining. Financial Services and Operations has a budget of over $894,000, expenditures of over $169,000, with 81% remaining. The final page of this report is generated monthly by the South Carolina Department of Education and includes all state funding calculated for the district. I've highlighted the state aided classrooms line, which is of the $221 million current allocation, $219.1 million is under the state aided classrooms line, which is approximately 99.11% of state funds. Madam Chair, this concludes my August financial report, and I respectfully request board approval at this time.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I'd like to
Yes.
make a motion that we accept the August 2024 financial report as presented.
Thank you. Do we have a second for that? Thank you. Any discussion, questions, considerations?
I have a question.
Yes.
Michael, obviously our expenses year-to-date are running greater than our revenues, and I believe I heard you say it's due to COVID funding expiring. So moving forward in our budget, month over month, quarter over quarter, do you continue to see expenditures outpacing our budget numbers?
No, I've already run the September numbers, and there's a net increase in September, and moving forward, we will continue to see a net increase. This is the same trend that we saw last year. It's because we're front-loading expenditures at the beginning of the year, and then we don't see additional revenue coming in on our growth and new schools until the 5-day update in September.
Thank you.
Because you had said you'd paid there's payments that have been made now that would, that were front-loaded, like you said.
Correct,
So,
yes.
Yeah.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
to make a comment, again, I think you all and the staff have done a great job of handling that, because you made the necessary cuts to the staff and adding, knowing what to be done with that. Other public school districts have suffered with that as they start this year, but you all have done a very good job, and therefore, as you explained to Mr. Miller, as soon as that number, you'll be balanced. So it was a difficult task of doing that, and y'all have done an excellent job to get that close. And therefore, and some people have a big struggle this year doing it. So I congratulate you all of handling that.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Strickland. I think a few points too, just because we just yesterday testified over in the governor's office on our budget for next year, and some of the highlights from that. One, we're requiring the law to provide PIBA for our employees, and I'm so glad that we can do that. But that's 20% of our budget. Our budget's $4.6 million. Our PEBA expenditures for state retirement and healthcare is $1.1 million. The other authorizers don't do that. They don't provide that kind of benefit for their employees. But we get no money from the state to cover our PEBA benefits like other state agencies are board-appointed organizations, public organizations. I'll also say that we pointed out yesterday that we spend close to $500,000 to support our schools with PowerSchool and with IT. And again, we get no money from the state for that, and we're not required in the law to provide that support. But we do, and that's a huge cost factor to the district, and we have to pay that cost because we've seen the benefit and how that supported our schools so their data is better so that then they can bring in more money per pupil. So those are just some of the investments we make in our people and in our schools that are huge cost factors for us. And as you all know, and those of you that run businesses, retirement benefits and health care continue to go up in an escalated way. And that's one of the biggest cost increases we've seen in our budget. So I just think those are some points we need to remember.
Well said.
We need to trade that in for buses. That's what we need, transportation.
And,
We need to negotiate.
Superintendent Neely, I think what you're saying, if you do things the right way and do employees, that's why the quality of the schools and the quality of the employees are better. So, and that is how you run a business to be successful.
Thank you, Kip. Thank you, Chris. Thank you. We do have a motion on the table to approve the August 24, 2024 financial report as presented by staff. Do we have I'd like to seek now a motion for the vote on that.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor of accepting this motion and of Nick's presentation to approve the August 2024 financial report as presented by him? All in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? No. Of course not. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair and Board, I'd also like to provide a brief update on where we stand with our 2024 annual financial audit. Audit field work has been completed as of last week. The audit firm is compiling draft financials this week, and we are working on some supporting schedules that are part of those financials. The submission deadline for schools is next Friday, October 18th, and we will continue to monitor progress. Yesterday was the first day all of our schools were operational. Hurricane Helene closed 1/3 of our schools for two weeks. As a result, I've reached out to the Office of Auditing Services at the State Department of Education requesting an extension for our schools. So I'm awaiting a response, and we'll provide that update when I get it. This concludes my audit update.
Thank you. Thank you, Nick. Now we will move into the superintendent's report for the sponsor performance update. J.R. Payne. I say that because I might be seeing another Payne around here.
Yes, ma'am, Madam Chair, that is correct, I believe. So just a few updates from sponsor performance since our last time together. So we conducted our on-site renewal visit with Felton Lab. As I believe, have shared before, Felton Lab is in the 10th year of their charter, and so they will be coming, we will have a recommendation coming before you, planned for our board meeting next month in November. But myself and a number of staff had a good visit there to Felton Lab. We're preparing for goals training. This is part of our strategic plan, so we've been in collaboration and connection with Dr. Kelly Pugh, who is going to co-present with us a session on October 23rd. The impetus behind this is really to have and ensure that our schools have specific educational goals that are really guiding their work so that we can better determine and better transparently share the success that our schools are experiencing. We've also been revisiting and improving our authorization activities based on both internal and external feedback. In fact, yesterday we had a great internal discussion as we are continuing to work to improve that work. raise the bar not only for our applicant schools, but also for ourselves as well. We have been as well in the process of reviewing and analyzing data for the embargoed report cards. There is one adjustment to this slide. When this slide was prepared, the date for the release was October the 10th. The South Carolina Department of Education has pushed that date back, so the public release date for the 2024 report cards now is slated for October the 15th. We've also been working with schools on ensuring accurate data for the 45th day, dropout data, and level data errors. As Deputy Superintendent Michael just mentioned just a moment ago, with the school closures, of course, that does impact their 45th day. So Nick's team, my team, and particularly working with Deputy Superintendent Baker's team are working with schools to get those calendars up to date, update Power School. So we're working closely together to provide support to our schools relative to the impact caused by Hurricane Helene. Madam Chair, that concludes my update.
Thank you. Now we move on to Emily, support and implementation update. Emily Baker.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. It's good to see you. I have 3 quick updates for you today. The first is to share with you that the South Carolina Department of Education has an annual cohort each year called the Institute for District Administrators. To join the IDA, IDA is an application process. So I'm happy to share with you that Diana Kingsbury from the Support and Implementation team is in this year's cohort. It's a monthly commitment where she is networking with other district administrators from across the state. She is building her leadership capacity as well as adding new tools to her tool belt. So she's standing at the back because she's been welcoming our perfect students. So congratulations to Diana, and we look forward to her new learning and what she has to share with us. Oh, John was right, we're double skip. Okay, here we go. Okay, policies and procedures. We have done some reflecting across our team in the past couple of months pertaining to not only our district policies and procedures, but also our schools' policies and procedures. We have identified that this is a need of focus for us this school year, okay? We also know that we're only as good as our policy, but those need to be living documents. They need to be looked at. They need to be reflected upon to see if updates need to be made so that a policy is implemented with fidelity. So we are supporting our schools through that. One of the things we did in our self-reflection is we noticed that we were collecting policies from schools in silos. So I had certain policies I was receiving, SPED had certain policies, testing had certain policies, so we have consolidated that process. So our schools recently have submitted all of their policies to us in 3 different buckets. Some of the policies we just need for them to assure that they have. And they're acknowledging, yes, I have that and we're ready to go. Some of those policies they must submit to us and we are providing them feedback. Those are things that we feel are really important. They're high level. We want to make sure that we have eyes to support and build those policies to be even deeper and greater. The last is there are some things that need to be submitted for approval. So we also have that 3rd bucket there. Susan and I are offering quarterly one-on-one support to schools. If they have a policy they would really like to go deep on and work throughout the year, we're happy to do that. If they say, hey, I don't have something, give me an exemplar, let's build something together. So our first quarter support for policies and procedures this year is taking place on October 23rd. The 3rd item I have for you is one of my favorite jobs. My friend Brooke and I from our team have been daily weather reporting for quite some time. And this slide is the same slide you received in your board packet, but as you know, a lot has changed since that day. So here's an update on weather-related closures across our district. Our season started off with Hurricane Debbie. We did, during Hurricane Debbie, have 6 schools that pivoted to e-learning on the 16th of September. Then we had Helene that joined us at the end of September. As you know, Helene has made a lasting impact across South Carolina. One example of that is on September the 27th, we had 33 schools that were e-learning. That was the day the storm was coming through. Since then, we have had a mixture of closures across the state. Yesterday, October the 9th, was the first day that we were in full operation, and then Milton came. So today we have 3 schools that are e-learning. Those are schools down in the Low Country. Due to the impacts of Milton, the Low Country is currently under a tropical storm warning. So they did not want their families on the road. So hurricane season is not over. We are supporting schools through this. I am sending a one-on-one email to each school leader today that says, make sure all of my documentation is proper. Let's talk through your makeup days and your options, and we're supporting them through all that to make sure our reporting to the state is very tight and clean. The state reporting is delightful in that as a district, we're not reporting one closure. We're reporting 44 every day. So it's fun to track, but we are supporting our schools in that. I also want to say that our schools, we have all but I believe 5 schools that have chosen to go for the state e-learning option. That is an application that must be approved through the state, and then they must annually assure that their application remains proper. Our schools are using those days, not just for weather, but also an example, Greenville, their school flooded. And they needed to be able to repair the building before students came in. So just a thank you to the department for allowing that opportunity. Our schools are able to still hold class in a virtual setting. And that concludes my report, pending any questions.
Any questions? Any questions? Okay. Let me ask you, as you work with innovation on these different types of compensations, with school days that have been washed away and that sort of thing, do you learn across the matrix of our menu of schools? Are schools able to pick up interesting ideas amongst themselves based on best practices that you all might find and highlight or that sort of thing?
To get back to
Yes.
normal as soon as possible.
Because that's going to happen the next year and the next year and next year.
Yes, I think our Low Country schools, this is kind of part of their norm, our coastal schools.
Yeah.
But our inland schools, they look at this through like a state snow and ice kind of situation. So Helene was very impactful for them. So I think every time this happens, while we don't want it to happen, we do get better each time it happens and bouncing back to normal as quickly as possible.
Yeah. Good, thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to speak to Hurricane Helene, but first I wanted to thank Emily Baker and her team for the great work they've done in the last couple of weeks in supporting our schools, literally just working around the clock and over the weekends to ensure our schools were safe, that we were knowledgeable about their situations, and everybody was impacted. The school communities, our school leaders, we had school leaders with trees that fell on their homes, but also we had schools that were serving as humanitarian points in communities, and specifically I wanted to call out High Point Academy, who is still to this day serving as a center of support for food in Spartanburg County, Meeting Street, Spartanburg, and also the new Pivot School over in Aiken County, who was handing out gift cards of food and support for families there. So let's give those schools and Emily Baker and her team a round of applause.
That's great. That's great. Good morning, Brad.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board.
Oh, yeah.
We've got a lot of John Paynes running around this place again.
No, his new name is Johnny. Johnny.
Johnny. We've come up internally with, this is Cola John Payne, and then this on the screen is Darlington John Payne. So that's the way we've figured out how to differentiate. But we'd like to welcome back our former board chair, John Payne. He is on a contract with us, helping out with board governance. And the reason I chose this picture, as we all know, relationships matter, and this is a small state, South Carolina. The gentleman second from the left is actually Perry's cousin, Anthony Wilds. And Perry and John and Anthony all went to St. John's High School in Darlington. back in the day. So
Way back in the day.
way back in the day. And look at all that hair. That's a beautiful head of hair there. And so we're happy to have Darlington John Payne back with us. I also wanted to recognize Brooke Summerford, who I introduced to you at the board meeting last month when I was introducing my whole team. But Brooke is here with us today. She's also on a contract and helps us, as I mentioned, with social media and graphic design and a whole lot of other things. So please get to meet her while we have lunch.
Yep.
This thing is tricky. Okay. I wanted to highlight one of our partners this month, and this has been an emerging partnership and relationship over the last year. The South Carolina Department of Employment and Workforce has this SC Works truck which goes around the state, and it's sort of a mobile career coach. They take students in and they work them through some simulations, ask them some questions, and then at the end it gives you a list of things that might be good options for you in terms of a career and thoughts about what you're going to do after high school. This truck has already appeared at Fox Creek High School in Aiken, and as you can see there, Perry Mills was at one of their recent events, and that's the director of DEW, Director Floyd, and we're working with DEW to take that truck around to they're not able to make it to every school. They've got to have about 50 students to show up and go through this. So we're working on some regional events around the state, working with our schools so that our schools can bring our students in and work them through these simulations and so they can really get to know what they might be interested in doing after high school. Another thing we're working on with the Department of Employment and Workforce, they have a data visualization team. So they can take our data, combine it with some of their data, and produce almost like heat maps that show the employment needs in the state, where our schools are, and where we need to put future schools. And, we think of it, we talk a lot internally about doing the Walmart test or the Chick-fil-A test. You've got to put schools in places where there's population density and need for them to be successful and sustainable. And so we really want to be a lot more focused on that as we authorize new schools. So that's just a couple of the things we're working on with DEW, and those are both great things for the district. The last thing I'll mention, I cannot, it's too, there we go. So I put this slide up last time as well. We hope you'll all join us for the Leaders Summit, which is on Tuesday, October 29th. I think we've had 2 board members register, so we'd love to have full participation. You can register with this code or going on this website. It'll be a 9 o'clock to 3 o'clock sort of day of events, and if you just hold your phone up to that, you can take a picture of it, or you can scan the QR code and it'll take you right to the registration link. So hope you can all be with us, and that concludes my report.
If Billy Strickland comes, can I sit by him?
We've got you a spot right next to him.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Emily Paul, we look forward to hearing from you.
It is my turn to battle the clicker. And I did just note that we will order some new ones in the next few weeks. Nope. All right, we're going to start here, and this is my only slide, okay? So this is the progress that we have made on our annual plan in the short time since we last saw you, which was actually less than a month ago. We have been examining our kind of team meeting practices, and that is to see what we're doing across teams and make sure that each of our teams has a consistent experience in those. And so one of the things we found when we were looking at the ways that each deputy runs their team is agenda items. And so we're going to be looking at kind of creating a more standardized agenda for each of those team meetings to make sure that all of our teams are kind of getting similar information, and then of course the deputies have the autonomy to add and run their teams how they would like. Another thing that we have started doing is after each of our alignment meetings every Tuesday, we then break out into our small individual teams and we give the key highlights from those alignment updates so that the full team understands kind of the decisions that have been made that day that might impact them moving forward. Brad's team has created many great visuals and flyers, and thank you to Brooke for that. She is excellent at kind of taking your ideas and making them visual, but that really helps us get our message out there in a cohesive manner. Everything is starting to look the same. It's really bright and flashy and just looks really professional, so that's been great. And then as you saw, Dr. Mills has been out and about in the community, making connections, getting our message out there, and just building potential partnerships. So we're really excited about that. Emily Baker's team in impacting our increased partnership goal, she inventoried all of our dual enrollment relationships throughout the state, just to get an idea of all of our schools that are participating, all of the different ins and outs of those relationships, and we're hoping that that might help us advocate for more consistent pricing and experiences throughout the state for our school in dual enrollment. John's team developed a standardized professional development survey tool. So that will be deployed every time our staff brings in schools for professional development. There's going to be a standardized QR code or link that they're going to fill out. There's going to be 6 set questions, and then each staff member that's delivering the PD, they can also put in a couple questions that they might need content-wise to make sure that their audience got the information they needed. But that will just help us kind of identify where we might have gaps and lead to continuous improvement in our offerings to our schools. And then I just had one question for y'all, and it does not need to be answered now, but it will help me moving forward on thinking through board member onboarding. And so I would just like to hear from you if there are any specific elements of onboarding that would have been helpful to you or was helpful to you when you became a new board member. So I'm happy to hear those now.
Madam Chair, so I'm a big advocate for that. And Eric reached out to me when I first came on, and I should have taken better advantage, I think, of time to talk with him about both the history of what had happened to the board recently, so that when you walk in, the things that are on the agenda aren't brand new to you and you don't know what's going on. It also would be good to know, I think, what schools had to be closed in recent years and what that experience was like. Because while we don't want to do that, it still is something that when it happens, I mean, when we had that hearing, last year, I mean, that was a huge ordeal. It was a massive amount of paperwork, a ton of testimony that went into that. So that would be helpful. And then also going over the financials, because I think unless you have significant business experience and financial background, you're going to look at a financial report for a district and have no idea what you were looking at. So being able to be walked through that, I think, is really valuable. And I think, and I don't know, Eric, we talked about this when we redid the policy manual recently, but I think that should be, if not already, it should be a part of, when you get your policy manual, you should just sort of be walked through, the nuts and bolts of what's in there. And, I just think in general for board leadership, I think and to call it a mandatory or something scares people away, but it should be something that all new board members just sit down for a half an hour, 45 minutes, and walk through this stuff before you walk into your first meeting. Otherwise, you're going to walk in and, it'll be all over your head.
Thank you for that.
Thank you, Jonathan.
It's a great point.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts to add? You're also welcome to call or email me. That's fine too. I know I put you on the spot.
I'll just mention one thing that I think is always helpful. Anytime there's a material change to the statute, I think that will certainly help us just to make sure that we're up to speed on the latest information that may have come from the General Assembly. I think that information could be helpful in addition to what Jonathan was sharing as well.
Second.
And I would say probably one of my favorite things was when we got the EduSpeak manual that kind of went through all the different 3-letter acronyms that told us what it meant.
Yes.
That was very helpful.
Glossary?
That was very helpful.
Yes.
The ABC soup, I think we were calling that.
Yes, Emily, and if there's any documentation that we definitely need to have signed, of course, some things can get lost in translation, but if there's anything, and that's what you're doing now, creating that, so
Yeah.
That would be helpful.
Okay. Any other questions on my report?
I really value this, as Jonathan is saying, this kind of open dialogue that doesn't have a script with it, because that's really great, what they're all saying here, and at your initiation to open you and the team up for that kind of interaction. It's a great thing. But I'm not surprised.
Thank you. All right.
Thank you. Next, superintendent's comments.
All right, I want to thank the staff and the deputies for their reports and all the great work. This has been a somewhat challenging new school year with all of these storms and how that impacts the families in our schools across the state. And I'm just very appreciative of the staff and the way they've remained resilient and supportive. And many of them have been personally impacted by this as well. So let's don't forget about that. And many of you have been impacted by this. But we stay strong and resilient when we put kids first. A few things I wanted to speak to. So on the screen you can see some photos of some of our students. Recently, John and I visited YLA, and this is Lambert Owens on the left. And we talked about this last month, but we have a challenge coin that we give our students. And that is a kind of on-the-spot moment. Like, it's something that just happens in the school at a moment when I meet a student. And Lambert he had a strong desire to teach me how to do archery. And so I really appreciated his teaching skills. And I was not so good, but I gave him a coin right on the spot in front of his class. And then the young man on the right, Perry and I went down to LAA, and this is Jeremiah Spalding. And Jeremiah, he was a little shy, and I went up to him. I said, Jeremiah, how you doing? What do you want to be when you grow up? He said, I'm going to be a doctor. I said, I have no doubt that you're going to be a doctor. I said, well, why did you choose LAA? And he said, well, let's just say I got into a little bit of trouble, and my mama said I was going to go to this school. But he said it has connected with me in a way that his previous school never did, and that's what LAA is doing. Our AECs are providing our students with an alternative environment where they can thrive and learn. So one day Jeremiah's going to be a doctor, I know it, and he got a coin because he was so positive about his future and outlook. You might recall last month we talked about, some of us went up to Harvard for the Emerging School Models workshop, and there was an article just this week. And so on the left is an article where there was a panel discussion about a potential United States Supreme Court case involving a charter school that was approved in Oklahoma. And you can see Dr. Fields there speaking. She's been a Harvard professor of law for about 40 years. She actually clerked for Justice Warren back in the day. But you can see that Emily Baker and I are in the background.
Yeah.
And this picture's all over the news. In fact, Eric saw it on his feed. And so we just wanted to share that with you. But that is an emerging issue that there's going to be a lot more discussion about in the coming months. We still don't know if the United States Supreme Court is going to take up that case. And then on the right, that picture was taken yesterday at the State House. We are honored and privileged as a district that we get an opportunity as the only statewide school district in South Carolina to testify before the governor and the House and the Senate for charter schools, but also for our funding for our students. And so yesterday we had our presentation with the governor's executive budget office, and we talked about the growth. We're projected to be over 23,000 students statewide next year. We talked about PIBA and how that is a huge, liability for the district and cost factor, and we're seeking ways for the state to help us in that respect. And then we gave some top lines on what we're seeing on the embargo data when it comes to our performance on the state report card, which will be coming out here on October 15th. And John Payne and his team will be putting out information to you all, and we'll give you a presentation in November on that. Some of the other issues that are of note, we earlier this week met with Army Recruiting Command for the state of South Carolina. They want to develop a partnership with the South Carolina Public Charter School District and be able to get into our schools and talk with families and our students about the careers and opportunities in the United States Army. As we tell our students when we travel around the state, any job or career that exists in society also exists in our military. And so we don't want those opportunities to be left out for our students because it's opportunities for them to have a meaningful, purposeful career. There are also scholarship opportunities and ways for them to pay for college to help their families. And of course, as a country, if we're going to defend our democracy and freedom, we have to have good young people that want to serve. So we want to be able to really value that partnership. We also recently had a great collaborative research conversation with Dr. Davis Marshall. He's a professor of education at Auburn University. We met him at Harvard. He's doing a study on autonomy of charter schools and how burdensome government regulations is starting to erode that autonomy at the local level and how that impacts teachers in the classroom. Because that's really the magic sauce for charters is them having that local control and then the teacher having that autonomy in the classroom to be able to perform the magic with students. So we've committed to work with Dr. Marshall on this study, and we've identified school leaders in South Carolina that he is going to interview through his protocols to examine autonomy in South Carolina. We continue to thrive in our Kids First radio show, which is every Tuesday at 5:30 on 100.1 to 7 here in Columbia. And Brian Myrick from York Prep and Robbie Compton from Rivervault were our latest guest. And Kevin keeps mentioning, he says, your school leaders just have such great quality and they're such great communicators, and that is so true. We're very fortunate in that. We also are forming a partnership with South Carolina Children's Fund. They're doing a lot of work in the school choice charter school space. They're a nonprofit that's focused on educational opportunities in rural and disadvantaged communities. They're working with some of our partner schools like Legacy and Meeting Street and Compass and others. And so we're really excited about the opportunity to look at how can we get into some of these more challenging communities and offer choice and opportunity for those kids as well. A few things of note that also came up in our presentation yesterday. So the South Carolina Public Charter School District this year, for the first time in its history, has become a majority-minority district, meaning that the population of students of color in our district is larger than the population of white students. Our population of students with disabilities has also gone up over 18% over last year, and that is a number that's increased every year. This is why this is important. I think our brand and motto of putting kids first is resonating with families across the state. I think more and more families, diverse families, are looking for other options. They want school choice options too that meet their children's needs. And so the more diverse we become, the more we can tackle the gap that exists in the achievement gap between low-performing students and high-performing students. So I think that is a round of applause for this entire board and district. And then one last note on that, we've become more diverse in all ways, but we've also continued to increase our performance. And while I can't give you the numbers today publicly, because the data is embargoed, I will just say that we continue to perform at a higher level than the state in all metrics. The only area where we're struggling, just like the rest of the country, is in math. And we've got to do more in math at our local school level, but that is a national problem that's going to take a local solution. So we're going to continue to support our schools when it comes to math so that we can raise the standard for our kids to give them their full potential in life. Pending any questions, that's the end of my report.
Thank you. Any questions? Comments? Emily? No, well, okay, yeah, okay.
Good morning again. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
That's okay. We will now have the SC Ready Kids Recognition.
Yes, I'm
Yes.
happy to share with you, we have some
Celebration.
perfect children here today. Trustees, the SC Ready Assessment measures student performance on the South Carolina College and Career Ready Standards. Standards specify what schools are expected to teach and what students are expected to learn. The SC Ready test items are aligned to the standards for each subject and grade level. Achieving a maximum score on one of the SC Ready assessments shows true mastery of these standards. This is a testament to the power of parent choice in their child's education, the innovative instructional practices of the school, a teacher's autonomy with best practices, and the student's hard work. The South Carolina Public Charter School District has 23 maximum scorers for the 2024 SC Ready assessment. 4 students received a maximum score for ELA, 19 students received a maximum score for math. Students, we are going to call your name up one at a time to come forward for a photo with Superintendent Neely and Chair Lady Mosteller. You will receive a certificate from the district, and also in the white envelope is a letter from the State Superintendent, Ellen Weaver. We are honored to be joined by 15 of these maximum scorers today. Now, students, I am not perfect. So if I mispronounce your name, you have my full permission at lunch to give me some feedback. I've been practicing, though. Up first from East Point Academy is Emerson Lay. From East Point Academy, Wyatt Pockle. From East Point Academy, March Liu. From East Point Academy, Alan Wong, and this is the second year in a row for Alan. From Green Charter School, Greenville, Seda Andek. From Green Charter School, Greenville, Rayanch Bunha. From Green Charter School, Greenville, Chloe Crosby. From Green Charter School, Greenville, Joao Gabriel de Melo Alves. From Green Charter School Greenville, Ayush Navalagadi. From Green Charter School Greenville, Nadezhda Ponyavina. From Green Charter School Greenville, Christopher Simonelli for the second year in a row. From High Point Academy, James Gaffney. From High Point Academy, Eliana Watoon. From Riverwalk Academy, Hank Farquhar. From York Prep Academy, Alexander Aguilar. From York Prep Academy, Aiden Niger. And from York Prep Academy, Abram Geddes. Parents, we will make sure that your school leader has our copy of your photo. We'll share this with you as well. All students, you may come up for a group photo. For our board, if you would like to join, you're welcome to. As they're getting ready for their photos, students and families, you're welcome to stay with us for lunch. After the board adjourns, we'll go straight out the back doors. Okay, we have one more that just came in. Is this March? Okay, March Liu from East Point Academy.
just want to say congratulations, scholars. We're so proud of each and every one of you. You really set the pace and mark for the South Carolina Public Charter School District. But I also know that you did not do this alone. If you look out into the audience, you see a lot of phones with cameras facing you. And that's because you have parents and guardians, grandparents, friends, teachers, school leaders, school board members, and an entire district that supports the work that you're doing. We're so proud of you. You truly do represent what a Kids First community looks like. So congratulations.
We are just overjoyed and thrilled to see the strength of your children from the strength of the love that you have for your children. And that is the great magic and power of charter schools. We are here, but you are the reason that we're here. And I cannot thank you enough for being the parents that you are and what you have already at these young ages built into these future leaders. So we congratulate you along with them. Thank you.
All right, everybody smile big. Congratulations, guys. And as we said, we'll share the photo with your school leader so that you all can get copies as well, okay? We'll also be putting this out on social media for the South Carolina Public Charter School District, so please share that with your family and friends. And again, upon adjournment, you are first in line for lunch, so we're going to adjourn here in just a minute, okay?
That was so. Okay. Yes. Yes.
Great. Yeah.
Do I need to knock?
I know.
That's pretty quick. Do we hear, having concluded so much today and heard wonderful stories and the achievement of these young people that will one day lead our land, we ask now for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So moved. Second?
Second.
All in favor? Okay, by saying aye. Any opposed? If you're opposed, you can't eat lunch. So we're going to go with a yes across the board on that. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. This is super. We're adjourned.
The only person that does this, Teresa Hood.
Okay.